Hi, and welcome to the Health Begins with Mom show. I am Dorit Palvanov, your host. On this podcast, I will share insights and interviews on health, parenting, and explore the question of what does it take to thrive as women, wives, and mothers. Now, let's get going with today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome 2019, woohoo! Happy New Year! Happy New Year. Oh gosh, I just came back from 2 weeks of rest, restore, and just giving myself the permission to enjoy my kids, enjoy my family, just be, nowhere to go, no rush, no getting out the door. For those of you who are moms and are dealing with this every single day, taking the kids out the door, you know how stressful that is. So I had 2 weeks of not doing that. But I did struggle. It wasn't just all rainbows and kitty cats. It was challenging. I did talk about this on the last episode. But today's episode, I'm so happy and excited to kick off something new on this show. I've never done this before. This is going to be called on-air coaching. And these are basically conversations, live conversations that I have recorded with women who are wives, who are mothers. Every woman you meet will be struggling with different things, and that is intentional. I want you to see that although the challenges are different, the solutions or the way out, in air quotes, is the same. And from my point of view, it is by practicing embodiment, radical self-care, and choosing yourself first, always. You guys know I talk about this all the time. We cannot raise good kids without raising ourselves. We cannot pretend like we're happy. You know, if you're raising a sensitive child, then you know exactly why. Right? Kids pick up on our energy, so pretending doesn't work, especially with the younger ones. If you have younger kids, you know what I mean. Kids who cannot yet communicate with words, but because they pick up on our energy, they just, their behavior is really, really difficult to tame and to just to contain. Also, it is really not fair. It's not fair to your kids, to your partner, but most importantly to you. You deserve to live a full, happy, and joyous life, even if you are struggling with the hardest job you will ever love, right? Which is motherhood and raising little humans. You might have inherited or learned this from your mother lineage, but I want you to know that staying in this quote unquote suffer zone is a choice. And you can absolutely shift how your story ends. It doesn't have to end as it did or as it will for women you are surrounded by. You know what I mean, right? Look around you. How many women do you know that are expecting to be sick or terminally ill or disabled once they hit 50 or go beyond? It's almost like, and I see this all the time, it's almost like once they've done what was expected of them, right? So they've been the good girls, they are finally allowed to rest and be taken care of. So yes, you absolutely should have a community around you of people who can lift you up and root for you whenever you need. But please, for the sake of God, do not allow this to be codependence that originates from neediness or helplessness. You are powerful beyond belief. And I want you to learn how to take care of yourself. Unless you learn how to truly take care of yourself and embody your full potential as a woman, as a wife, and a mother, you too would be headed in that same direction of burnout, resentment, bitterness, dryness, feeling unmotivated, uninspired, and as though life has been literally sucked out of you. Feeling joy is our birthright. And I think the word joy was the common thread in all of my conversations with these women. So, speaking of joy, in today's call, you are going to meet Wendy, who is a young wife and mom of 3 kids. Wendy called me because she was struggling to feel connected to her husband. At least that's what she thought that she was struggling with. And you will see as the call evolves that she will connect to the real reason she doesn't feel connected to him, among other things that she discovers about herself on the call. So as you listen, I'd like you to consider these questions. Do you also feel like it's a challenge to bring more peace and alignment into your life? Do you feel emotionally overwhelmed with everything that you have to juggle? For example, kids, full-time work, starting a business, running a household, nurturing core relationships with your parents or in-laws or siblings. Do you also feel like you want your joy back, like you want your peace of mind back? Do you feel like you want to be at a better place with your husband? Do you want to have fun and passion and romance together with him again? Do you feel like parenting overtakes everything? Do you also feel like a nanny, a cook, and a housekeeper? So in today's call, you will hear how Wendy is going to give herself permission to design the life that she craves without feeling overpowered by others. I hope you will find yourself in Wendy and will do the same for yourself. Be sure to stick around until the end, as I will be sharing some takeaways after the call, as well as how you can do some assignments and some things to help yourself to get back into balance and alignment. And also I'm going to share with you how you can work with me so I can help you to shift your energy away from overwhelm, burnout, and negativity, and use the wisdom of your body to design a life that you love to live. And before we go ahead with the episode, I just want to remind everybody that all the show notes can be found over at healthbeginswithmom.com/ep-88. All right, so without further ado, here's my coaching call with Wendy. All right, so we have Wendy with us today. Hi, Wendy. Welcome.
Hi, Dorit. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited for this chat.
I'm excited too. So before we start, why don't you share everybody a little bit about maybe we'll start with your age, how old you are,
Okay.
how many kids you have, maybe their ages. Tell us if you're married, if you're in a partnership. Let's start with that.
Okay. So I will be turning 38 this year at the end of the year in like less than a month. I'm married. I've been married for 9 years with my hubby, and we have 3 kids. I have a boy who's almost 7, and then 2 little girls who are 5 and 2.
All
And
right.
so, yes, our house has got a lot of different energy going on in it.
All right, cool. So here's what I'm going to ask you. You don't have to answer if this is something that is too much. Please feel free to just say, I prefer not to. But all these questions are really, really helpful for me to understand where you are and what you are working on achieving. Okay. So you mentioned that you are married. So as a woman, are you happy in your marriage?
Sometimes.
Okay.
To be honest, sometimes, and that's something that I've been working on too. It seems like, as soon as you take on this role of mother, I almost feel like I lose the aspect of being the wife that I want to be. You lose that relationship a little bit because this other role is kind of, it takes on this huge life of its own, and trying to figure out the parenting aspect while maintaining a relationship is challenging.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. So tell me a little bit about what's going on and what prompted you to reach out to me.
Um, I was curious to see what it is that you do and offer, and I'm finding that I'm struggling, and just reaching out now, starting to learn to ask for help and see what more can I be doing or changing the way I think or approach the issues that I'm having, to bring more peace and alignment in my life.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about, maybe you can share 5 main health challenges or health anything, and when I
Okay.
say health, really I mean, it could be physical, emotional, spiritual, mental. Like, health is a
Yeah.
big word, and when I say health begins with mom, it's this word encompasses all of that. So why don't you share a little bit about those, what are the 5 top things that are you feel out of alignment with regards to?
Sure. I would say, like, my physical health, like, I'm in good health, like no actual health issues, but I feel like I'm not as fit as I used to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making that time to do the exercise and do the activities that I used to do to maintain my health, I'm lacking in that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd say emotionally, mentally, I'm feeling overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that I feel like I'm juggling, right? Between the kids, between full-time work, trying to get some of my own private business underway, and also just strain in my relationship with my husband. So that puts a lot of mental stress and emotional stress, and I would say daily, on me.
Right. All
Mhm.
right. So if I asked you, and you kind of said it, I just want you to use your own words to
Mhm.
actually voice it and say it. What is the problem that you want fixed?
Oh, I want my joy back. I want my peace of mind back. I want my husband and I to just be in a better space together again. Because I think if I'm okay, if we're okay, that translates down to how we parent and how the kids are and how the family is. And so that's the
Yeah.
struggle right now.
Yeah, I love
Hmm.
that. All right. So when you say, I want my joy back, I want my peace back. So it almost refers to, um, you used to have it and now you no longer have it. So at which point in your life did you lose it? At which point? What happened in your life that from that point onwards, you're
Hmm.
struggling with joy and peace and relationship and happiness?
If I'm truthful about it, and if I look at it really hard, I would say it was when we became a couple. Like, my history with my husband is that we were friends for 10 years before we became a couple. And so we became a couple and got married within two to 4 years. It was a little while, and then had a family and things like that. And I just feel like before, when we were friends, we were different. We had fun together. And then after we got married and we were together, we had fun together, but there was a different type of expectation, um, in the relationship. It just shifted a little bit, and I can't quite put my finger on it. And that's where it started to change. And I say I totally love him, but there are just things that are different. Yeah.
Right, right. So I remember I used to, because I mean, as women, as wives, and as mothers, I think we all can relate. I remember, I'm going to share this with you, and you tell me if this resonates.
Mhm.
At a really dark times of my relationship with my husband, it was actually when our kids were very little and we were so sleep deprived, and we didn't really take care of ourselves. So all of that together, with our own hardships, it makes everything much, much, much more complicated. So I used to refer to him as, we're kind of okay. We are basically roommates. There's no really desire. There's no really passion anymore. There's no like really amazing, great sex. So do you resonate with that?
Yeah, I would say like parenting overtakes everything. And to the point where you're just, some days I just feel like a nanny and a cook and like a housekeeper, and there's no room for romance and like that type of thing.
Right. Or there is no really, it's not a priority. And so it's not put
that's the truth.
Right. So, okay. So let me ask you this. Why did you decide to marry him?
I couldn't imagine.
What was the one thing you saw in him that said, you know what? Yes, I'm going to say yes to him and I'm committing to him. What was that thing?
I just couldn't imagine my life without him. It was like, I liked us together. I could see us building a life together. I could see being like a mother, though I had never really wanted kids before. I could see with him, I'd want to be a mom, and I don't know. That's why we were together. It's hard to sum it up.
Right.
That feeling.
Whenever a woman tells me, I don't know, I'm like, nope, sweetie, you do know. There is no such thing as I don't know. Maybe that is your intuition. That was maybe your, kind of like your soul that was telling you something. And, whether it's, it felt right, but you definitely do know. I just want you, maybe you don't know yet now, but there is this, bigger sense of knowing. And as women, we don't move through life without this is our inner compass, and when we're not attached to it, when we're not connected to it, everything falls apart. We don't feel, it's like, I love this word connected. So, if you think about your iPhone and, or your smartphone, doesn't matter. Like, it's once it's connected to its, the charger, it's fed, like it has power, it has, vitality or whatever you want to call it. And it's the same with us humans. It's this connection. It's being connected to this greater source that keeps us going. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
All right. So I understand that, there are some challenges with, in your marriage, in your relationship, in your partnership with your spouse. So maybe tell me a little bit about what else have you been experiencing or struggling with other than that?
Just, I would say the kids and teaching them how to deal with their emotions and be good little people to each other and to people around them, and contribute as a family and learn the roles that we all can carry through our life and what their role can be right now in our family. So kind of our daily struggles.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's where I'm going with this. Okay. I see that you are just like absolutely enamored with your family. Otherwise you wouldn't be here on this call, or you wouldn't be investing in coaches and, help. I do see that there is this immense sense of responsibility. For this call, for the remainder of this call, I'm going to ask you to almost like imagine this little box, and I'm going to ask you to put your sweet, amazing husband and your cute little kids in this box and close it and just put it aside just for the next little while.
Okay.
And all we're going to talk about, all we're going to focus on is Wendy. That's all I care about. So, it all begins, it all starts with you, who you are, what it is that you want, what it is that you desire, what it is that you really at the core want to bring to the world. What are you creating? What are you working on creating? What change do you want to bring? What is your purpose? That kind of stuff. Like, I want you to be really connecting to maybe Wendy when she was 9, 8, all the things that you've seen in the world, and you're like, oh my gosh, this world is amazing and I can do all these amazing things. So you remember that? Do you remember how as kids we were so joyful? I'm going to reuse that word, intentionally here. Something happened, and this joy started to slowly, I don't think you lost it. We don't really ever lose it.
No,
we forget.
Somewhere, it's hidden in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think we forget, and you need help remembering. So let's with that said, I'm going to ask this question again. What are some other things? What are some other patterns in your life, in your being, in the way you are showing up to life as a woman, wife, and a mother that you feel that you're struggling with?
Indecision and a lifetime of relying on other people to tell me who I am and what I should be doing and thinking, and often going to other people for feedback to hear, like, okay, this is what I should be doing. And so now finally at 30, almost 38, being brave enough to be like, well, no, I need to figure this out for myself. I really need to know what it is I want, and just being a little bit lost in trying to figure this out. But determined because this is my life. I want to have a say now instead of letting other people have that say.
I love that.
Yeah.
You got it. This is a core. It's not the relationship with your husband. Not that I am not compassionate to it. Absolutely. But, having a joy in relationship, in any relationship really, it cannot happen if you're not connected to who you are, to what you want, right? So like you said, in decision making, because this, you've been living a life of always being told, do this, don't do this, that's right for you, that's not right for you, choose this, don't choose that. And so especially as girls, as we grow up, we will learn that we are not encouraged in this society to be self-reliant, to trust ourselves, to trust our gut, to trust our intuition. Does it make sense? Does it resonate?
Yes. And I don't know if it's part of it is growing up in an Asian family, but they're very like, you need to do this, and very specific, expectations of what I should or shouldn't be doing. And I'm a big rule follower. I was the good daughter.
Yeah,
because I did what was expected, right? And now I'm realizing, well, that was good to be a good daughter, but what does that mean? Who am I now, right?
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about your relationship with your mom?
Oh, yeah, that's another issue right now. Somewhere along the way, we were close when we were younger, but I feel like not emotionally close. She's like very supportive, nurturing. And now as I'm older, I find there's more of a, shall we say, a power struggle in a way, where I'm trying to find my own voice as a woman, as a wife, as a mother. And she still treats me like a child. Like our interaction, I feel, is still very adult, childlike. And so I'm trying to break out of that.
Yeah. Oh, this so resonates with me too.
Okay.
Yeah. As women, especially as girls, when we're growing up, there has to be, it's almost like a transition from girlhood into womanhood, into wisdom. And at that point, we're supposed to graduate from girlhood. And that graduation, many times what that entails is being able to separate from your own mother. Not separate on that terms, or like forget, see ya, see you later. But to be like, it's, all those things that you crave, to be able to make your own decisions, to stand on the ground on your own, to feel like you are, like, what you're doing, without constantly doubting yourself or feeling this, lack of confidence. This is what it is. This graduating means that, once you transition from, once you individuate, you separate yourself from your mom, that's when all this magic happens. And let me tell you this, it will not come from your mom, Wendy.
No, it won't. Yeah.
Because you have to remember, and, you mentioned being raised in an Asian family. I grew up in a Russian culture, in a Jewish Russian culture, and it's very, very similar. Very, very similar. And I'm sure that, so many women who are listening to this can relate to it. It's, I think this dynamic is not something that is culture specific. It's just, I think, a natural progression, even maybe biologically. That's how we're designed. But what I think you and I are craving more than anything is to find that peace of mind, finding, separating in a way that feels good, in a way that feels aligned, in a way that feels sustainable and flowy, right?
Yes.
So why I wanted to mention that is because as our parents, we have to always remember that, we can definitely take the route of blaming them and, pointing fingers. But unfortunately, it doesn't really change anything for us. Because we have to remember our parents were victims raised by victims. So, we cannot expect them to give us that which we need. And so in essence, it is really all about you learning how to take care of yourself, how to mother and parent yourself from the core. How do you talk to yourself? What is your inner talk? How are you negotiating with your inner critic? I'm sure you have it. I'm sure you have it. We all do.
Yes.
Right?
It's a hard critic.
I know. And many times this critic would be the voice of our mothers, right? Because we internalize that criticism. And I see it in myself too, and you probably can relate to it too. When we mother, we tell them what not to do, and many times we have, the best intentions in heart because we want this household to work, right? We have all this logistics to take care of, and then we end up almost like programming their psyche.
Yes.
And because they're so raw and vulnerable, they internalize it and they believe that this is who they are. This is who they are, right? But the truth is that it's not, which is why as parents, we cannot be blamed for that, right? It is really the work that each one of us has to do on their own to break free from all of this, mental conditioning that we've been grown up with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So how do you think that this problem that you have, so the problem is no longer, your marital issues or parenting. We are back to Wendy. How is this problem that you're having with yourself, with your core, how is it standing in the way of you showing up in the world as a woman, as a wife, as a mother? How has this been impacting you?
I guess I've been just not being true to myself. So I when I do things, it just doesn't feel right. And if I try to, which is the overwhelm, then I'm at a standstill, right? Then I stopped trying because I feel like, well, where do I even start? There's just too much to do.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear
So
you.
I almost hide and just drown myself in something that just, numbs what I'm thinking or feeling so that I don't have to look at it and address it.
So let's talk about that. How do you numb?
Mhm. Um, Watch Netflix. I eat. I just avoid being around people.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
you hide.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about what are the things that you've tried. What have you done so far? What changes have you tried to help yourself to ease some of this soul ache?
So I've started working with a coach, we had talked about, and started some journaling, started some meditation. Like I've always done yoga, so the meditation piece is kind of an easier piece because
Mm.
it's nothing new to me, and that works well.
And how does that
Um,
feel since you started doing that? How do you feel?
I feel good when I make the time for it. And it also makes me more aware of what I'm thinking and feeling during my day, right? When I'm interacting with my kids, with my husband, doing things, I'm just more aware of and connected to how I'm thinking and feeling and trying to work at being less reactive. So I can slowly see some shifts. It's just taking time, right? When a crisis comes, then it's harder to maintain those kind of changes.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So when you say crisis, what do you mean? Like, what would be a crisis in your situation?
Um, like we're trying to leave the house in the morning, and one of the kids is not following with the routine that we have, in place because she doesn't like the clothes that we picked out for her, or she can't find her favorite sweater, or she's doesn't like the breakfast I've made, and then the whining and the complaining come out, and then because we're on a timeline, you know you feel that urgency and the pressure, and then you start yelling and things like that when you don't really mean to, but because of the pressure of having to leave the house, get them out on time, get to work on time, um, you st- I start doing things that I don't want to do, but feel like it's necessary in order to get things done on time. And so all the breathing and meditation in the world just kind of fly out the window at that point, because you're dealing with a child that, she in her own right, she's perfectly allowed to feel that way. But I still need her to do what I need us to do.
Right,
Yeah.
right. All right. So here's what I'd like to do with you. It's a very
Mm-hmm.
super simple exercise, but it will
Okay.
help you to maybe get a little sneak peek into how it feels to be connected to who you
Mm-hmm.
are. Because let me tell you this, I totally relate to what you're saying with regards to this morning, getting out the door. I totally get that. I have it too. And
Mm-hmm.
I, when I started practicing this embodiment and just really, when I envision feeling embodied, feeling really connected to me, I envision being in a mountain pose in yoga. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
if you can maybe you can stand up. This is audio only. Nobody's gonna see you. So maybe you can
Yeah.
stand up and just stand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stand in this mountain pose. Close your eyes and just breathe.
Okay.
Now, breath is super. This is our superpower as women, but really as humans. And the breath that I'm going to invite you to take is called Ujjayi breath. So if you've been doing
Mm-hmm.
yoga, you know what that is. It's breathing in through the nose and then out through the mouth. But remember to maintain that mountain pose. So in through the nose and then out, sorry, not through the mouth, out through the nose as well. So you're going to breathe like that. And just from being in that pose, standing like that, very firmly in the ground, having your two palms of your hands looking upwards, not upwards, to the front of the room, with your eyes closed, I want you to tell me, how do you feel in your body?
I feel stretched out and open.
Mm-hmm.
And grounded.
Mm-hmm.
It's just me, and it feels nice.
Mm. So pay attention how we haven't done anything yet. This is just standing firmly on the ground and breathing. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we mother, when we engage in relationships with whoever, in order to be really, really successful and do really well, and feel really good about ourselves, this is what you want to, this is where you want to mother and parent and relate to other people from. This is that kind of place, right? So it's like, it's almost, you're gonna imagine yourself standing in this Tadasana pose, mountain pose, and feeling really, really confident with who you are, and not self-doubting yourself. I know that because I'm raising 3 girls, I know that as girls who then grow to be women who are losing their center a little bit, that center of their, of intuition and how they are connected to nature. Many times we question our very own existence. I see it all the time. I see it in, in questions like, I'm not good enough, or, oh, why should I bother? Why bother? I shouldn't be doing this. Oh, it's not for me. That kind of thinking pattern. It's an immediate, this is an immediate kind of like signals from your higher self that there is a disconnection between you and your, center, between who you are as a human being. And you can definitely always go back to it. And now when I say this, I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, in the morning when I'm stressed out and in a crisis, I can't stand. I don't have time for this. Right? Which is why...
No, you can make time for it somehow.
Which is actually, listen, it's fun to do with the kids too. But what I advocate is the daily practice. Whether it's yoga or the meditations that you are already doing. I actually prefer guided meditations as opposed to just silent meditations. So this is, something that you can try as well. And I highly, highly, highly recommend for you to get in your journal. When I work with clients, I refer to the journal as your portal to getting connected with your inner wise mother. Because she's there. She is 100% there. When we're looking for enforcement or not enforcement, permission from the world around us, to give us permission to do what it is that we want, many times it's not coming, especially from our parents. Yes. I remember when my parents don't even know what I do, because if I try to explain to them that I am an embodiment coach, they were like, what? Please, honey, go and get a normal job at the bank. You need benefits, you need job security, all that crap, right? Yes. So I very quickly, I realized at a very, at this very raw stage of my life when I was raising 3 young kids, that I wasn't connected to myself.
And so I had to figure this thing out. I had to, because I don't want to be parenting from a place of uncertainty. I don't want my girls to have that imprinted into their heads as something that that is like their default, right? So I had to look very closely at myself, which is something you're already doing. Anyways, I was going with that. I encourage you in your journal to refer to, whenever you're writing or whenever you're dumping your thoughts or vomiting your thoughts or criticism on the paper, to invite that inner wise mother. And also try something that is basically, you're going to write a letter to your mom. Now, that can be a very healing and cathartic exercise. I remember I've done it many, many times because, first time I felt like, whatever, hi mom, what's up, how are you? I wasn't really, connected to, to that raw place. And as I did it more, sometimes you'll have to go away and then come back, but do it again and again and again and again until you feel this connection, until you feel really honest, all the things you wish you could tell her and she would listen. All the things that you would want to share. Remember yourself as a little girl, so excited, and you want to share and you want to open up. And who do you, as little girls, who do we share those things with? Mostly with our moms, right? Because they're the closest to us, either with our moms or maybe a sibling.
Sisters.
But we need to have that kind of support system around us. And so I recommend for you to do these things. So practice this Tadasana pose and then start bringing it into your daily life. Meditation, journaling is amazing. And then write this letter to your mom. Start talking to your mom in your head, even if it's not real. Of course, would be amazing if you get to the point where you can actually share that with her, but then feel really good about, what? She doesn't get it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? So that's it. Day in, day out. You can totally do this. It's all about giving yourself the permission to go back, to remember. There's nothing that you lost. You have it. It's all within you. Okay? Was it helpful?
Yeah.
I want you to talk a little bit. I've been yapping for the last 5 minutes.
I would say, yes, I totally see how the meditation and the breathing is helping. And I would say I have been resisting the journaling piece, because I find like when I journal, it's very surface right now, right? I like just write down what I'm thinking in the moment, what's going on around me, but I don't ask myself those questions why and dig deeper, because I feel like I don't know the answer, and I say I don't know a lot, and those are my responses when I'm put on the spot, by my husband, by the kids, and I need to make an immediate decision. And so, yes, I need to make the time and space to look deeper, because perhaps I haven't.
You already know. You told me in the beginning, I hide. The way I numb my feelings is by hiding. So, and actually saying I don't know is another way, another form of hiding and numbing. And so if you're really true to yourself, if you really, really want transformation and change, then there has to be this place in your body. I think it's a physical thing in your body that will kind of like push you towards this transformation. And let me tell you this, many women who are, I feel like you are way, way, way ahead of the game, because for most women, they don't even have the awareness. And then in that case, many women would then go to manifest physical symptoms in the body, right? So, and many times, when it has to do with our inability to express ourselves, it would be related to thyroid. And how many women do you know that have hyper or hypothyroid thyroidism? It all comes from this, the throat chakra. It's all here. And so whenever we're feeling the stagnation of energy, it's not surprising me that, real physical symptoms are being manifested. So sweetie, you are way ahead of the game. You have the awareness, you've been vulnerable enough to ask for help. Not only vulnerable, you've been courageous enough to ask for help. And so now it's really all about the showing up, and journaling is part of the showing up, because if you don't do that, then what's the point?
Yes.
Right? This is your portal for getting connected to yourself. This is your portal for connecting with your own truth, with your inner wise mother. She knows everything. There's no such thing as I don't know. Right? Because isn't it interesting if I asked you with regards to a problem that one of your children have, wouldn't you know what to do? You would even tell me, it's a motherly instinct. I just know. But when it comes to us or issues that we personally have, all of a sudden it's convenient to cave in and say, I don't know. Right? Because there is no like immediate emergency there, right?
Yes, you're so right. Yeah.
Yeah, we're so used to put ourselves on the back burner. Oh, it's okay. We're, to neglect and ignore and, oh no, I do this in the name of motherhood. I am a mother. I'm raising those children. I'm saving them. Right? We do that. Yeah. And then what happens is our kids grow up to be, again, not connected to themselves, self-doubting, and this is just a generational pattern that is being perpetuated. And so what you're doing and what everybody who is listening to the show are doing is we are breaking ourselves free. We're setting ourselves free, and we're breaking down these generational patterns, because our children, our families, first of all, we deserve better. The world deserves better, and our kids deserve better too. Yes?
Yes.
Amazing. Do you have any questions?
No, this is good to get started and going. Would you say, because I find I do a lot of self-reflection, but in my head, I haven't gotten it down to paper because I don't know. I think it's almost scarier to have to sit down and do it on paper. And what would you say about that, the difference between thinking it in your head and putting it down on paper?
Okay. Why don't you answer this question for me? You know the answer. You know the answer.
I think when you have to write it down and physically see it there in front of you, it's almost like you really have to answer to yourself and look at, is what you're writing true? Is that really, is it real?
It's real.
As opposed to it's just a thought in your head, right?
Right. So I remember when I was stuck in that place, I didn't even have the courage to put it on paper, because then you have to deal with this, right? And it's almost like your higher self knows that this is bullshit. And so you almost have to, I call this process, the process of adulting. It's like you really have to grow up and say, oh my gosh. I remember when I was writing them down, it was like a page long, and I started laughing. Because it was just so funny. I couldn't believe that those are the things that are in my head, and they are in a loop. They're on repeat.
Yes, it's on a loop all the time. Right? It's on a loop.
Right. And it's sucking the life out of you again and again and again. And it doesn't give you any peace of mind or that joy that you're craving so much. And so and that's why I truly believe that journaling, that's what I started doing. Whenever I feel this overwhelm, I'm like, okay, I need to be connected. I need to talk to my inner wise mother. Like something is not right. So that's my answer that was really answered by you. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. And
yes, thank you, Dorit.
So
It was a pleasure.
All right. Thank you so much, Wendy, for sharing so vulnerably your struggles. And also I'm so proud of you for finding the solutions in yourself. I truly believe that everything that you need, you have inside of you. And sometimes the benefit of working with somebody like me or with other coaches is just, them to challenge you to ask those questions that you yourself maybe even never even thought of asking, or maybe even afraid of asking. So thank you so much, Wendy. And you guys, can you relate to Wendy? I'm sure a lot of you will. Do you feel so overwhelmed that you eventually just stop trying? Like there's so much to do, and then when that happens, you hide and drown yourself in something that is numbing the feeling of discomfort. So things like Netflix, food, avoiding being around people. And then what happens as a result, on a very deep internal level, you feel like you are betraying yourself, or that you are being out of integrity with yourself. And that, guys, I know personally is the most difficult emotion to bear. And with time, the more year passes, the more difficult you feel, and that in itself could potentially turn into a physical symptom, which I don't want anybody to deal with. So I do encourage each and every one of us, I'm going to include myself in this, to be courageous and to confront those painful points in our lives that we are many times are just choosing to shove to the corner or to put under the rug. Do you also feel like you cannot handle chaos very well? So Wendy talked about the example of leaving the house in the morning, and when that happens, all the knowledge that she has about mindfulness and meditations just fly out the window, and she basically starts yelling and starting to do things that she doesn't want to do. So, I'm sure you guys can relate to that as well. Also, do you, like Wendy, find it difficult to ask for help, to reach out to other people, to be guided, to be mentored, to just be really honest, vulnerable, and raw and say, oh my gosh, I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. I don't know how to take care of my kids. I don't know how to take care of myself. I'm struggling. Help me. So I know I struggle with this. I struggled with it a lot in the past. Not so much anymore, because I have created a support system around me, and I have chosen to invest in myself, invest into learning, into just seeking out help whenever I need it. And these can be small things. So I remember in the beginning when my kids were really, really small, I had to ask for help with sleep training. Also with some, things that were related to nutrition. I remember I invested in tons of courses to learn how to feed my kids. And then now these are different things. So for example, I am in the process of working with an energy worker, or with somebody who helps me to untame or unleash or break free from my money wounds, or any things that are kind of blocking my financial abundance, feeling abundant financially. Anyways, these are my examples, but the point here is to always to be open to ask for help, and not to be afraid to invest financially, because when you invest financially, that is when you're making a commitment to yourself. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Wendy's key insights and ahas. So on the front end, as you've heard, she said that she feels disconnected from her husband and children, but the truth is that she was disconnected from herself. And until she learns how to connect to herself, it is very hard to pretend or fake this feeling, right? We spoke about a few things that she can try to start this process out, and I'm going to mention this again in a few minutes. Also, another key insight was that feeling disconnected from herself leads to indecision, and a lifetime of relying on other people to tell her who she is and what she should be doing. And I know this, so I can relate to this so much. I remember how that felt, and I still know, like I mentioned on the show, my parents still cannot wrap their head around the fact that I've chosen to be an entrepreneur, because for them, in their value system, being an entrepreneurship is highly risky. It is not stable. It is not safe. And when you're raising a family, that you do not do that. Which again, we spoke about this on the show as well with Wendy. It's not about blaming our parents. It's about just being courageous about saying, you know what, thank you, mom and dad. Thank you so much for doing an amazing job in raising me, but I am choosing this way. I want to go this way. I want to try. I want to play. Another thing that Wendy got out of this was that as someone growing in an Asian family, she said that expectations are very clear, but she is done being the good daughter, and at 38 years old, to finally give herself permission to do what she wants to do. So important. And guys, I want you to detach yourself from the age, from this number. Don't feel so attached to a number. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point is that wherever you are in your journey, and each one of our journeys are different. And so it is okay, if you have gotten to this path, closer to your 40s. And by the way, most women that I connect with are going to be around that age. And that makes total sense, because the majority of us, get into family making, baby making time around, I don't know, maybe early 20s, or I think the majority of us do it in our mid 20s. And then there are about 10 years of just being in the trenches, hardcore. And it's hard. It's really difficult to choose yourself in those moments, in that season of your life. However, if you do have the awareness, it is better. The earlier you get at it, the better it is for you and for your family at large. But the majority of people finally feel like they can breathe again around that age. So detach yourself from the age. It's just a number. Another thing that Wendy took out of this is that even though she was very close to her mom when she was younger, she said that it's hard for her to own her power and confront her mom now that she's older, because when she's older, as she's trying to find her own voice in the world, because her mom still treats her like a child. And I'm sure from her mom's perspective, it is, she doesn't feel like she treats her as a child. I'm sure from her mom's perspective, it's just, caring and looking after her daughter. But from Wendy's point of view, she feels like her mom, treats her like a child. And by the way, this is a great clue as to what kind of mom you want to be. And if you don't learn how to take care of yourself and become that mother that you wish you had, then, I'm just going to be honest with you. This generational pattern is going to reoccur in your life and in the life of your kids. So this is what I talk about when I say, become really honest with yourself and say it, what it is that you do want and what are the things that you don't want to have in your life. So this is your legacy, own it. And Wendy did agree that blaming her mom is not going to lead her anywhere, and that she has to learn how to advocate for herself and own her power and trust herself again. Okay, so here are some practical and tangible suggestions that Wendy can try so that she can start embodying self-trust and feel connected to herself again. So we talked about her using her breath to connect with herself by standing in a mountain pose where she feels open, grounded, and the most like herself daily. The key is to do this daily. And then bring that feeling into her mothering. And I highly encourage you guys to do this as well. This one practice alone had changed my life. Also, we talked about how she should start journaling to connect with her inner wise mother. And the other thing we mentioned on the show was to write a letter to her mom that she will never send, where she thanks her for doing her best in raising her, but now it is her time to become a woman and not a child. And this will help Wendy to individuate from her mom and step into her own power as a woman. So no more the good daughter. It is time to step into, I am a woman in my own right, and I deserve to design my own life and legacy. All right, so some assignments and takeaways for you. Number one is start practicing yoga regularly, right? I talk about embodiment all the time. And what is embodiment really? Embodiment is integrating. It's the integration. It's the piece that I think, in my opinion, this is the missing link, because so many people are talking about fitness and exercise and, goals for the new year and all of that. And that's beautiful. But eventually what happens is you find yourself 2, 3, 4 months into the new year, you look back and nothing really changed. And the reason is because you haven't integrated that, those ideas or that excitement or, those new routines that you're so passionate about. And yoga, one of the most amazing things about yoga is that it is a practice of embodiment, which will help you to take what you've learned on your mat into your life as a woman, wife, and a mother. I personally love Hatha yoga because this style of yoga offers everything that you need as in this particular season of your life. It offers you poses, so you will be challenged physically. It also offers breathing exercises, preparing the body for a deeper spiritual practice such as meditation. And meditation is really the ability to sit in stillness with yourself and to learn how to be in control of the only thing you have control over really, and that is your thought. And these thoughts, and we spoke about this with Wendy, it's when a thought happens, it has a tendency to be in a loop, right? So the practicing being able to sit in stillness in a meditative state is to be able to control where you're going with your thoughts. This is a very powerful practice. I do not expect, all of you guys to know this right off the bat. It takes years of practice. I myself I cannot say that I am a great meditator. I've resisted it for years, but at least now, the last time I've done it, I talked about it on the show, was I've actually was able to sit in stillness for 5 hours straight, and that was amazing. I felt so good after that. So anyways, that's why I love Hatha yoga. I recommend you guys to start practicing Hatha yoga. Find a local yoga studio or maybe a gym and start being regular with this practice. Over time, it will help you to cultivate a sense of peace of mind and also inner joy, which Wendy spoke about today on the show. And like I said, yoga is a practice, meaning in order to see results, you need to actually practice it regularly, right? It's not just, you do it once or maybe once a week. If you want to see results, you must practice it daily. The other thing is give yourself permission to choose and permission to take a leap. We all want to raise good kids who take risks and become, to be good people in the world. And the best way to do it is by modeling, right? I think all the experts in this space will agree on that. So don't be afraid to fail or to make mistakes. And just remember that you are human. And it's okay to cry in front of the kids, or to have a breakdown or a meltdown, or to have a tantrum. You are human, right? Give yourself permission to play and explore. Enough with this good daughter syndrome. I see this happening all the time. I've seen it in my own life, and I've seen it in the lives of my clients. This, being the good daughter, there is no such thing. There is no just one way of being good in the world. We all have our own way of showing up in the world, of expressing ourselves fully. So stop clinging to this one vision that you have in your head, because it's a fantasy, it's an illusion. Okay, so give yourself permission to break free from that. The other thing we spoke about was starting a journal and using it like a sacred tool to access your inner wise mother. So I know, in the space of, whenever I talk to my clients or to people I work with about starting a journal, there is resistance. And I get it. I've resisted journaling for years. And I always talk about the show about my experience of working with a coach. And when she, one of the things I had to do in a program was to learn to write in a journal consistently. And that's why I say, it changed my life. And I basically paid $6,000 to learn how to journal. So I'm telling you, it's big, it's huge. So this is not about, dear diary, today I had lunch with Lindsay. It's not that kind of journaling that we do when we're teenagers, although that is amazing. And if we are able to stick to that kind of journaling, chances are that we will be keeping a journal in adulthood, right? So that's amazing. It's a great habit. If you're raising daughters who are, old enough to start a journal, absolutely encourage them. I know I do. But this is all about giving yourself permission to write your thoughts and use this as a guiding tool. Okay, so please make an effort and start writing in your journal. And then the last thing I'm going to leave you with is to join the January round of the Health Begins with Mom Mastery Experience, which is a 6 months incubator to help you break free from anything that is holding you back from shining your true light as a woman, wife, and a mother. What you've heard today on the show is an example of how I work with women and how each coaching session sounds and feels like. In this program, I'm going to hold your hand, and together we're going to do the work that you are afraid to do on your own. You've heard Wendy so many times she had to pause and think. And I think the reason is because, nobody ever asked her these questions. So in this program, I will mother you, I will love on you, I will nurture you, I will teach you how to eat in alignment with your feminine energy. I will teach you how to balance your hormones so you can finally lose that weight that you really want to get rid of. I will teach you how to expand your emotional mastery container. You'll learn how to negotiate with your inner critic, how to heal your mother wound, and become the woman, wife, and mother that deep down inside you know that you're destined to be. This work is sacred and it is dedicated to your healing. I want you to take a stand for yourself courageously so that you can show up for, your very best as a woman and wife and a mother, and so if this is something that you would like to explore, I am super happy to be the one who is guiding you through that process. Like I said, it is a 6 month commitment, and I tend to prefer longer term periods, especially if you're a mother, if you are a busy mother, raising a family, running a business, having to juggle so many things. We need to be able to have a longer period so that we have time to integrate and to practice, and also to be okay with hiccups that absolutely happen along the way, and that's okay. So like I said, if this is something that is itching at you, please head on over to www.healthbeginswithmom.com/apply, and we'll get on the phone to see if we are a good fit. My love, I believe in you. I know you can do this. This is your chance to kick off 2019 in the best possible way. You got this. I will be back next week with a brand new on-air coaching call. Until then, I'm sending you much love and healing. I'll catch you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Health Begins with Mom show. I love hearing from you, so please post your comments and questions over at healthbeginswithmom.com/podcast. If you love the show, please share it on social media and in your real life with other moms who might enjoy this content. And if you have a burning question or topic you'd like me to hit on the show, just drop me a line at dorit@healthbeginswithmom.com. And if you love this show and really want to support it, please go to iTunes, write a review, and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Much love and many blessings.